Today we're going to be learning how to solve equations using multiplication and division. It's going to be very similar to addition and subtraction. It's just that instead of having it add addition and subtraction in the problem, we're going to have multiplication and division. Okay. First skill we're going to learn today is how to check solutions, just like we did with those other equations. So equations may be true for some values and false for others. Remember, there's only one number that makes an equation true, unlike inequalities where there are a lot of different numbers. Okay. So we have x over 2 equals 8. Remember that a fraction bar means division. So we're doing x divided by 2 equals 8. And that's the equation that we're going to use for when x equals 10, when x equals 12, and when x equals 16. Remember, our answer to these kinds of questions are just yes or no. Does it make the equation true or not? The first number we're going to try is 10. So 10 divided by 2. Well, 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 does not equal 5, so our answer for this one would be no. X does not equal 10. Then we'll have 12, and we're going to put a 12 in. 12 divided by 2 equals 8. Well, 12 divided by 2 is 6, so that does not equal 8. Last number we're going to try is 16. 16 divided by 2. 16 divided by 2 is 8, so that would be yes. Now, if you were to have a problem like this on a test or a homework, it would look something like this. Okay, where they're going to give you an equation, 3m equals 12, and then they're going to tell you what m equals, and you're just going to put it in there, plug it in for the m. Okay, remember 3 next to m means multiply. Does not mean 35, it means 3 times 5. So 3 times 5 equals 12. Well, 3 times 5 is 15. 15 does not equal 12, so this one would be no. Okay, part B. Remember, fraction bar means division. If you need to write that in there to remind you, go for it. The equation that we're using is y divided by 5 plus 1 equals 3. We want to know, does y equal 10? First thing we're going to do is put 10 in for y. 10 divided by 5 plus 1 equals 3. Well, first we would do 10 divided by 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 2 plus 1 equals 3. 3 does equal 3. So our answer for this one would be yes. So the same way that we check solutions with addition and subtraction, we just have multiplying and dividing here instead. Solving equations. Again, same thing. When you multiply or divide the same number to both sides of an equation, remember we have to do it to both sides of that equal sign, the two sides remain equal. And here I'm just here to prove to you that this works. Okay, so let's start with multiplying. Let's multiply by 5. 8 times 5 is 40. Now if I only do that to one side, it's going to be 40 equals 8, and 40 does not equal 8. That equation is not true anymore. It's not equal. So if I multiply by 5 to the left side, I have to multiply by 5 to the right side. 8 times 5 is 40. 40 does equal 40. So notice how I have to do the same thing to both sides. Same thing with division. If I divide by 2, I have to do it to both sides in order to keep it true. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And if I didn't divide this side by 2, if 5 would not equal 10, that doesn't work. So we have to make sure we do it to both sides so that the equation stays true. Okay, again, this is not something that you will have to be doing. I'm just proving to you why this works. So to solve an equation for a variable, remember a variable is a letter like x, y, z that's in our problem. You must use the opposite or inverse operation to get the variable or the letter all by itself. We want to end up with x equals something. That way we know what number x is equal to. In order to do that, we have to get rid of whatever's next to it. Now, we're going to be using multiplication and division today. So the opposite of multiplication, we need to remember, is division. Opposite of division is multiplication. Okay. So here's an example problem. 2x equals 20. Our first step is to think, what operation is being used in the problem? What are we doing in the problem? If we have 2 next to x, this means 2 times x equals 20. So we have multiplication, so the opposite of that would be division. So to solve this, we're going to divide. Just like when we had addition, like 2 plus x equals 20. We would do the opposite of adding 2, which would be subtracting 2 to solve. Okay. We want to show all of our work. To do that, we draw our line down our equal sign to make sure that we multiply and divide on both sides of that line to keep the equation true. Now, when we show division, we use a fraction bar. Otherwise, there's just a whole bunch of different symbols that get in the way. You will need to use a fraction bar as division in 7th and 8th grade, so you might as well get in the hang of it now. So the opposite of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. And remember, the fraction bar means divide. So I have to do that to both sides. Multiplying by 2 and dividing by 2, that's just 1. And 1 times x is just x. So that's where they're canceling out, just like they did with addition and subtraction. And all we're left with on that side is x equals. And then 20 divided by 2 is 10. Okay, so same exact process as addition and subtraction, it's just that we're multiplying and dividing now. All right, let's do some examples. If at any point you feel like you're catching on to this, you know how to show your work with it, pause the video and work ahead, and you can just use the video to check, but make sure that your work matches mine. First step, drawing our line down our equal sign. W is being divided by 4. So what is the opposite of dividing by 4? Multiplying by 4. To show multiplication when we're solving equations, we use parentheses. Your 7th and 8th grade teachers are going to make you use parentheses to show multiplication. So we need to get in the hang of that now. Okay, dividing by 4, multiplying by 4, that's just 1. Cancels out. Because W divided by 1 is just W. So that's just canceling out. We're just left with W equals. And 12 times 4, and you can use a multiplication chart for this. This is on a chart. 12 times 4 is 48. Last step, circle your answer. Okay. Line down our equal sign. 5b means 5 times b. So if we are multiplying b times 5, we need to get rid of a times 5 because we need this b all by itself. The opposite of multiplying by 5 is dividing by 5. Remember, to show division, we use a fraction bar. So we're putting fraction bar 5. 5 divided by 5 is just 1. It cancels out. We're just left with b equals. And 65 divided by 5, that is not common sense to me. So I'm going to pull it over to the side. It's also not on a multiplication chart because the answer is bigger than 12. 5 can fit into 6 once. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract, bring down. 5 can fit into 15 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. Subtract, no remainder. B equals 13. Okay, line down our equal sign. In this problem, we're doing a divided by 8. The opposite of dividing by 8 is multiplying by 8. Remember, to show multiplication, we use parentheses. For 7th and 8th grade teachers, will make you do it this way. Dividing by 8, multiplying by 8. That equals 1. Cancels out. A divided by 1 is just A, so we're just left with A. 6 times 8 is on a multiplication chart, so we can multiply that. That is going to be 48. All right, number 4. Line down our equal sign. 9 next to an R means 9 times R. Opposite of multiplying by 9 is dividing by 9. To show division, we use a fraction bar. 9 divided by 9 cancels out. We are just left with R. 81 divided by 9 on a multiplication chart is 9. All right, let's get into some fractions. X is being divided by 1/2. We want to get rid of whatever's next to that x, so we want to do the opposite of dividing by 1/2, which is multiplying by 1/2. Divided by 1/2, multiplying 1/2 cancels out. We're left with x equals. Now, when we multiply fractions, we have to have fraction times fraction, one number over another. So in order to make 6 a fraction, we have to put it 6 over 1. 6 times 1 is 6. 1 times 2 is 2. 6 can be divided by 2. 2 can fit into 6 3 times. So that would be our final answer. Okay. Number 6, line down our equal sign. In this problem, we are multiplying 2/7 times x. Because when a number is next to x, we are multiplying. The opposite of multiplying by 2/7 is dividing by 2/7. 2/7 divided by 2/7 cancels out. We're left with x equals. Now here's where I would rewrite this problem with a division sign and not a fraction bar, because we want to make 6 a fraction, so make it 6 over 1 is being divided by 2/7. Now this order matters. 6 was the number on top, so it has to be the first number before this division sign. 2/7 is the number on bottom, or the number we're dividing by, so it has to be the second number in this equation. All right. In order to divide fractions, we keep, change, flip. So we keep the first fraction the same, change it to multiplication, flip it to the reciprocal, 7 over 2. Then we just multiply across. X equals 42 over 2. 2 can fit into 42 because we can half both those numbers. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Half of 42 is 21. Okay. If you've been following along with me for this video, at this point I want you to pause this video and try number 7 and number 8 on your own. And I only want you to be watching these next 2 examples when you are done with them so that you can check your work. Okay. Line down or equal sign. 3x means 3 times x. Opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3, so we should be dividing by 3 to both sides. That cancels out. We're left with x equals 3 can fit into 33 11 times. Last one. W is being divided by 7. The opposite of dividing by 7 is multiplying by 7. We have to do that to both sides to keep our equation true. W equals 13 times 7. Again, that's not common knowledge to me, so I'm just going to pull it to the side and do 13 times 7. 7 times 3 is 21. Write my 1, carry my 2. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2 is 9. So W will equal 91. Okay. And that is how we solve equations with multiplication and division.